If you're sitting there wondering, Gina, why do you have a button-up shirt on? Why are you wearing your work clothes for a YouTube video? All great questions, and yes, there is such thing as a stupid question, but don't worry, those weren't. The reason that I have a button-up shirt on that I usually reserve just for when I have to go in person somewhere for work is because today I need to be professional. I need to be on my best behavior because today I am giving you advice. Not good advice, probably pretty useless advice, but advice nonetheless. For today's video, I am going to be acting as your writer therapist of sorts. I asked you all what things you want advice on when it comes to writing, and you sent me some stuff, so now I'm gonna try to answer them. Like I said, it's probably gonna be pretty useless advice that won't help you by any means, but hey, I'm doing this out of the kindness of my heart. You're welcome. And I also want naming rights to your firstborn child. Alright, let's get started, shall we? I struggle keeping myself interested. I used to have such brilliant ideas, but then they'd bore me, so I'd change them, and then again and again. Until my passion for stories completely died out, and I don't know how to find it again. It doesn't help that I have a whole mystery and thriller novel planned out in my notes. What would you do in this situation? Easy. I would jump off a cliff. I'm not kidding when I say I do that, but to be fair, I have also struggled with this and I'm still here. Just bring a parachute maybe when you jump off that cliff. But yeah, I have struggled with this exact same thing before. There's been a point in my life where I have had so many ideas that I was excited about, but I wasn't excited enough about any of them to just focus on one of them. So then what ended up happening was I found myself in the middle of writing several different books, and each were kind of half-assed, if I'm being honest. And writing one story is a lot in itself, so then finding yourself in the middle of multiple, you eventually just reach burnout, and then you are tired and you don't want to write anymore. And that's exactly what happened to me. And I don't know if you reached burnout yet or not, but you're on the right track if that's something that you want. I honestly think that the biggest thing you need to look at is, why are you bored with all of these ideas? If you're coming up with these ideas and you're planning them out, obviously they excite you and you're passionate about them and you want to write that story. So what is the missing element that is stopping you from actually giving it your full attention? Giving one of them your full attention. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure there are people out there who can write multiple stories at the same time, but I think for a majority of us, focusing on one story is the best route to go. So I really think in this situation, you need to take a step back and reevaluate everything. You have all of these ideas, but none of them are exciting enough, nor are you passionate enough about any of these ideas to truly commit to one of them. Do you have commitment issues? If you do, unfortunately, I can't help you with that today in this session. However, if you'd like to book a later session with me, I'd be more than happy to help you kind of dive into that issue. But I do want to let you know that my rate will increase. So it's going to go from naming rights of your firstborn child to full rights of your firstborn child. Not that I actually want your child. I really don't, but I just like to know that you'd offer it. Okay, next, getting past the beginning. I always end up starting from scratch after about 3,000 words in because I decide I want to go in an entirely different direction. I know I should just push through, but whenever I've tried to do that, I lose all interest in my story. So I'm stuck in this never-ending cycle of writing beginnings. Okay, yeah, I have some great advice for you. My advice is to keep rewriting the first 3,000 words of your book until it's perfect. Scrap it, start again, scrap it, start again. I don't give a rat's ass if it takes days, weeks, maybe even months off of your life rewriting those 3,000 words. Keep rewriting until every word in that Google Doc is perfect. Do you see how stupid that sounds? Now, don't get me wrong, I struggle with this myself as well. I have this almost debilitating need to have my first draft be perfect. I have rewritten the beginning of my story so many times because I wanted to change the tone. It wasn't setting it up the way I wanted it to. I didn't think it was gripping enough. And so I lost days, weeks, maybe months rewriting the beginning of my book. And guess what? It's not even the beginning of my book anymore. What I have currently in my Google Doc for my first chapter or 2 or 3 could very easily be completely rewritten when I go back in to work on my second draft. I don't know if this is something that you struggle with, but I know for me, I was feeling like someone was always watching over my shoulder and they were reading every word I wrote. So I felt this need to have every word be perfect. That set me back so much. I have been working on this story for so long and I'm not that far in, and it's because of that mindset. It is a shitty one and you need to try to rewire your brain somehow. Maybe a lobotomy. I don't know. I don't think we can do those anymore, but I could probably figure it out. I could go on WikiHow and do it for you. But seriously, your first draft is meant to be a rough draft. It is meant to be a dumpster fire. If it is not crappy in some ways, you're doing it wrong. The whole reason for a first draft is to take everything from your brain, all of the ideas that you have for this story, and just get it out there. So if you're writing and you're 3,000 words in and you decide you want to change the tone or whatever it might be, just do it. Don't go back and rewrite it. You're going to do that with your second draft. If you continue with the pattern that you are currently doing, you are never going to finish this book and no one's ever going to get to read your book. So you've spent all of this time and no one's going to get to appreciate it. And I want to appreciate it. So I need you to, I'm so sorry, I need you to remove your head from your butt and just keep writing. And then when you go back and you look at your first draft, when you go in for those second edits, you can see what worked and what didn't with the story as a whole. Because to be honest, how would you know that you don't like the way that you're taking it if you haven't finished the story in the first place? Am I actually giving good advice? Probably not. Okay, staying focused / motivated on a task. I struggle so much as a writer with ADHD. Do drugs. No, actually don't. I'm kidding. Do not do drugs. Oh my God, I should know. Oh, Jesus. Imagine how disappointed that man who came into my elementary school and gave us that DARE assembly would be in me right now. He'd be so ashamed of what I just said to you. I think I signed a contract, like an oath or something, to say no to drugs. And here I am telling you to do them. God, he'd probably throw me in jail. So as someone who also has ADHD, it is hard to stay focused and motivated on certain tasks. And I find this in every aspect of my life, whether it be work, writing, whatever it might be. For me, what I have to do is eliminate as many distractions as possible. The main one being this thing right here. Real quick, you probably shouldn't take any advice from me because I don't have a case on my phone, and I heard that that's psychopath behavior. I actually don't understand why that's psychopath behavior though, because everyone's like, oh, what if you drop it and it breaks? Here's the thing, I'm not gonna drop it, so it's not gonna break. I don't know why all of you are just chucking your phones across the room. I'm not doing that. Anyways, back to you. Yeah, eliminate as many distractions as possible. So putting headphones on. Sometimes I listen to music, sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's just for the noise canceling, so I hear nothing. The outside world does not exist to me. I have a thing on my phone where every single day it goes into extreme do not disturb mode. I say extreme because I have my phone on do not disturb 24/7. I allow a few people to come through, but during, I think it's from like 7 to 8 or 8 to 9, no notifications can come through. It doesn't matter who it is. Hopefully none of my friends are ever like dying and need my immediate help between the times of 7 to 8 or 8 to 9 because they're not going to get through. Oh, and last thing, if eliminating distractions doesn't help, self-hatred is a real big motivator. Names! Exclamation, exclamation. Place names, side character names, names for magical items, just all names. I have nothing for you. I don't even have a sarcastic response. That's just how nothing I am right now. Coming up with names is my villain origin story. I hate it. I am terrible at titles. I don't like picking names because again, that perfectionism comes in and I'm like, this name isn't suitable for this person. Now for the book I'm currently writing, there are some names that I'm pretty set on, but I need you to know what I went through to come up with those names. It was a lot and they're nothing even special. I guess, do you want to have like a meaning behind their name? If so, you can Google up names that mean XYZ. I seriously have nothing for you. Best of luck. If you figure it out, let me know because I need advice on this. Right now, my book title is I wish I was kidding. Dialogue. I'm assuming you're asking for advice on writing dialogue and not asking me to explain what dialogue is. But if it does happen to be the latter, you have Google. Use it. When it comes to writing dialogue for me personally, it comes fairly easy. I think it's the thing that I struggle the least with when it comes to writing. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. I don't have like a set thing that really makes it easier. I just seem to have a fairly easy time writing natural conversation when it's needed. I think that's the most important thing you need to keep in mind. I have read so many books where the author decided to give information about the world or history on things or backstory, whatever it might be, through dialogue. And while this can work sometimes, a lot of the times it comes out so stiff and so unnatural and it pisses me off. I would rather have 6 paragraphs of you just info dumping on me than me having to sit here and read about characters speaking who are supposed to have a very like natural or deep bond with one another, just having this extremely awkward like elevator talk with one another, but just like it's a history lesson essentially. Hate it. Don't do that. So there are a few things here with dialogue. The first one is, does this need to be said by a character or can I convey what I want to in a different way? I'm not saying you can't do this all the time with dialogue, but it's finding a nice balance between things. For example, instead of a character telling another character that they're hurt, you could describe the character looking at the other character and kind of building up that visualization and seeing that they're hurt and wounded. I think another thing about writing believable dialogue is knowing your characters. I love books where if they didn't have a dialogue tag, I would still know which character is saying something. So it's figuring out what their humor is like. Do they have an accent? Are they from a certain place that affects the way that they speak? For example, people in the UK refer to certain items differently than someone who who is American would. And also think about natural conversations that you hear day to day. Go sit somewhere and eavesdrop on people. I'm not kidding. I'm really not kidding. I've never been more serious in my life. Go eavesdrop. Listen to how natural conversation sounds. Humans abbreviate things. We don't always add every single word in. You don't need your characters to be the most articulate individual in the entire world. Also, another thing I sometimes do if I worry that a conversation is coming out kind of stiff is I will read out loud my conversations that I wrote and I will record it and then I will listen back. And if it sounds weird or unnatural, I will go back in and edit it that way. All right, let's move on so that this video isn't an hour long. Figuring out when to slow down and plan things out more and when to push ahead and keep on writing. My advice is to never plan. Planners are dumb and don't know how to have fun. I do kind of stand by that, but my actual advice for you is if you are finding yourself sitting down to write and you just end up staring at your Google Doc because you don't know where to start or you don't know what the purpose of a scene is or where you're taking it or anything like that, like you have no direction, you need to start planning a little bit. And this is coming from someone who loves being a pantser, okay? It is my favorite personality trait of mine. Well, maybe not my favorite, but it's up there. I understand that as a pantser, planning is just disgusting. And honestly, I was very ashamed and embarrassed of myself when I finally started doing it, but it does work. I think if you're sitting down to write and you're able to just keep writing and things are coming out and you can go back and obviously edit stuff if it doesn't really make sense, if you still have that flow, I think you're good. But if you're finding yourself kind of not knowing what you're doing, or maybe you're a little too all over the place, like scenes you're writing just don't even live in the same world as each other, you need to sit back and plan a little bit more and kind of figure out some structure to your story, or you can keep pantsing. You can keep doing your thing. And to end this video, we're going to go over writer's block because that seemed to be the thing that most people sent in. And boy, do I have advice for you. This is the best advice anyone will ever give you when it comes to combating writer's block. Okay? Listen closely. Come close. Come here. Are you listening? Are you paying attention? Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to find a wall that you don't mind damaging. And you're going to stand in front of it. You're going to put your face this close. And then you're just going to repeatedly smash your head into that wall until eventually that block disappears. It works. Trust me. However, if you don't feel like slamming your head against a wall and giving yourself a concussion, what other advice do I even have for you? This is the tough thing is I think the key to kind of getting rid of writer's block is dependent on each person because everyone is experiencing writer's block for a different reason. Sometimes you might have some overlap, sometimes you might be in the same boat when it comes to it, but a lot of the time it's just you. It's not me, it's you. However, I will tell you this one piece of advice that I saw once by the author of Angels Before Man. They were asked about how they deal with writer's block or something like that, and they said something along the lines of, if they reach writer's block, that is a signal to them that the scene that they're writing isn't working. Which I do agree with to some extent, because I have had a handful of times where this was the case, and I just kind of need to step back and be like, what am I doing? Obviously, this is not the direction I need to take it because it's not working. However, I don't think that's always the case. Sometimes I think you're just tired and you need to take a break, and you just need to like go do something that re-energizes you, that makes you excited for your story again. What I've been doing when I experience writer's block is instead of writing and trying to force myself to get words out, I work on my book in a different way. I will sit there and I will plan. Unfortunately, yeah. I've been doing that. Or I'll work on like the personalities and backstories of my characters, or I'll write about what the history of the world is that they live in, or what their lives are like before my story started. So I just work on my book in a different way, and I've noticed that that kind of helps dislodge the block in my brain. But yeah, I really don't have any answers for you, and I think that's a great way to end this video, because I think you all need to remember that I don't know shit. I know some things. I like to believe that I know a lot of things actually, and I will sit here and say it with my chest, but it's not always correct. I do actually genuinely hope that something I said helped somebody. If not, what a waste of memory space on my memory card right now.